What a crazy night of fights tonight. I cannot believe how that literally just ended. Dustin the Diamond kind of getting a taste of his own medicine, and a lot of you guys are saying it out there. Thanks for joining me. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, ProWrestlingAuthority.com. Make sure you guys check it out. It was absolutely a fun night, free card, and of course, you guys know how we do this. It's time to review the recap of UFC Hidalgo and kind of give it a rating. I'm kind of interested on how you guys want to rate this as a free card. We're not going to view this as a pay-per-view card. It's a free card. A lot of fighters coming off a loss here. Very exciting fight. I even got to say it. The prelims were all up-and-coming fighters, and they put on one hell of a show right off the bat. Very first fight, though, goes to a draw. And on UFC Pick'em, if you get a draw, apparently it's a loss. So not a big fan about that. Anyways, Belal Muhammad going up against Montano. That was one of my favorite fights on the prelims there. Muhammad, of course, we remember from fighting Alan Jouban. He took that fight on short notice. I actually got to talk to Alan Jouban coming into that fight. And Belal, remember the name Muhammad, and man, he put up one hell of a fight. Pretty sure I remember watching a documentary on Montano, though. Muhammad was 9-1 coming into this fight, and of course his only loss was to Alan Jouban. And in that fight, in that third round, Alan Jouban actually found himself in trouble. So we were all actually really excited to see what was going to happen with Belal. And of course, we know that Montano is a veteran fighter for the most part. So great fight for him. Belal Muhammad moving on to now 10-1. That's a great record for the UFC. He's a great guy. He's full of life. So I can't wait to see what matchup they're going to have next for him. After that, Cecilia versus Benitez. And I was going with Cecilia here. Of course, he had 8 knockouts in the past. So I was kind of aiming for him to win this. And that fight ended the complete opposite way. Benitez actually ends up winning that, making him 19-6 now. And that got us into the main card, starting off with Blanco and Kelly. And the way that this started off was amazing, and I cannot wait to talk about this on the podcast. If I have any new listeners out there, make sure you check out Pure Evil MMA. It's up on iTunes every Tuesday night. We review the cards. We have winners, and of course, my listeners out there already know this. I will be announcing the UFC Pick'em winners for both the Amateur League and the Hall of Fame Pure Evil MMA on UFC Pick'em. I myself got half. I went 50-50 on the night, meaning I got 6 out of 12 right tonight. But getting into the main card, Blanco 12-7 versus Skelly, who was 15-2, with the Hulk Hogan one-footer on it, and he even called it out. Those were his words. That's exactly what it was. It was like him coming out and just like that front kick. And they were both actually trying to do it, and Skelly actually lands it, gets a 17-second submission, which is the record in that division, WEC and UFC, and with the little WWF move. So how do you like that one? So that was a great way to start off our main card. After that, it was Wade versus Makhachev, and I love the grappling here. It was great grappling. The crowd out in Hidalgo, though, guys, rough crowd there. I don't know if they were just undereducated, as Joe Rogan would say here, or what was going on, but every time anyone would grapple, the crowd was just giving it all boos. And of course, the fighters, you got to be careful feeding into that. You don't want to be like, oh shit, they're booing me. Go in there, leave yourself open, trying to shock the crowd, and then you're the one that gets dropped. Never looking for that. Of course, Mock wins that, making him 13-1 now. But the grappling game there was absolutely amazing. I know all my BJJ fans out there were probably going crazy during that fight. Carnero, is that how you pronounce his name? 20-10, going up against Robertson. And here, it could have went both ways. In my opinion, it was a BS call. I really thought that Robertson did enough here to make the win for the night. However, the judges, you never want to leave it to them. It's just a bad idea. You do not want to leave the fight to the judges because you do not know how they're seeing this fight. And of course, here Robertson taking a loss. I thought it was a BS call. I was actually interested. That was a really tight matchup as well. So make no mistake about it. It wasn't like really one-sided at all. Really here, Carnero has amazing wrestling. We were excited to see what was going to happen. That was going to be a huge tool against Robertson here. And it went all 3 rounds, judges calling it in the favor of Carnero, who was actually getting walked off the octagon. So we were all like, oh, what? He broke his foot. And then, of course, he just daddies down those stairs. So we're like, oh, I don't know what that was all about. That gets us into Dunham versus Glenn, 17-6, and Rick Glenn taking this fight on short notice. Halfway through the night, I was looking through the card and I was like, oh, wait a second, is that Rick Glenn? The what was he? He used to fight with Legacy, I think. But we talked to him on Cage Side Submissions, which is every Sunday night. They're going to be airing live tomorrow night. Always putting on a great show out in Philadelphia. Check them out. Block Talk Radio. Cage Side Submissions at CSS Radio on Twitter. I actually got to talk to him on episode 123. Alan Jabano was actually on that episode too. When he had the upcoming fight against Bilal Muhammad. So how crazy is that? That kind of came full circle tonight. So Glenn had a kind of a really hard first round, second round, but that third round, throwing his hands up, doing the whole Nick Diaz thing. Just like, bring it. And then he was actually getting hit with some shots. I was like, oh shit, you got to be careful, brother. You don't want to be calling this dude out and then you get laid out and flattened. But he actually stood in there and he fucking had him come on. And which is surprising to me because coming on a fight in short notice, you're probably not going to have the cardio to go toe to toe with somebody that's been training 6 weeks for this fight. Even though they're not used to you. Glenn, congratulations, brother. You put on one hell of a show tonight, man. And everyone has been talking about you. I was just watching the UFC on Fox after show, Cara Bryant. And all they were talking about was what a warrior you were, man. So we can't wait to see what happens next with you. Congratulations. This was a debut fight. Thank you for taking it on short notice. Of all things, thank you for that. Putting on and saving the show there. That got us into Brunson versus Uriah Hall. I had a hard time with this, and of course you guys know me from Twitter at evil_echo. I asked everyone there. I was having a hard time. What did you guys think? Everyone was thinking Hall, and I was like, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what my heart is going with. However, my mind, my head, everything was telling me, no. Brunson has exactly what it takes. Uriah Hall, he hasn't been pulling the trigger lately. He's been very shy. We all remember him from the season Ultimate Fighter. Dana White telling us that there was a warrior coming in, I forgot the exact words that he used, but he kind of got us all hyped up about him. And in that season, we saw that crazy heel kick. We saw it again, the Gegard Mousasi fight not too long ago. But it's always inconsistent with Uriah Hall. Every time I pick him, it's hit or miss. You never know what Uriah Hall is going to show up. And tonight, it's kind of arguable of what really happened there. Another thing to mention is the reffing tonight. A lot of bad calls. They had to bring in the big guns. Herb Dean, who even made a couple bad calls himself, in my opinion. He in the fight twice during the night. That's the prelims, the main card. The fighters had to tell him, like, yo, this dude's tapping, man. He's out cold. And then Herb would step in and their heads would just flopped out. And it's just like, damn, man, you got to make sure you check every angle. And he started picking up on it, checking fighters' hands. And one guy was even like, thumbs up, I'm straight, man. Keep it rolling, I'm straight. So, yeah, a couple bad calls. Social media was kind of going crazy about that tonight. The bad calls that the refs were making. There was also one bad call in the Uriah Hall fight, which everyone was talking about. But in my opinion, guys, after rewatching the fight a couple of times, watching that highlight knockout, I came to the conclusion that Uriah Hall was out. And I know that he's got a chin. He recovers really quick usually in fights. Here, though, he was out cold. He just missed it by a hair. Dropped the neck shot. Out cold. And of course, he was wrestling with Herb Dean's leg. So how are you going to tell me that he was fine? He could have got back up and fight. Maybe. And I would like to see that fight play out maybe round 2 sometime in the future. I think he was out cold. He took the power, and the speed of Brunson, which we knew was going to be a big deal here. What can I say besides that? Brunson versus Hall. Brunson was 15-3. He had that knockout, which 4 knockouts in a row now. So congratulations to him. Hall finds himself in a very tough place. He kind of collapsed a little bit after all the hype. He couldn't really deal with the hype after the season Ultimate Fighter. We really expected a lot from him coming in here. And, oh man, imagine if him versus Anderson Silva actually happened at UFC 199 like they were supposed to. Like I said, I thought that would be a great fight for Anderson Silva to kind of work his way back up, kind of take a lesser of an opponent, because we know Uriah Hall, really can play the game. But for Anderson Silva to kind of work off of. I really wish they did make that fight happen. Hall kind of took a spill here tonight. We will not know what's going to happen next with him. I'm very interested to seeing what he's going to be saying at the post-fight press conference. It's probably going down right now. We're going to be reviewing this all on the podcast on iTunes, so make sure you guys all follow me. Pure Evil MMA, Apple iTunes, Podbean, all your major podcasting platforms. Also, every Wednesday night, me and Ted Check, and of course you guys know who Ted Check is. I hope you guys know who Ted Check is. If you're here on YouTube watching me and you don't know who Ted Check is and you're an MMA fan, it's probably your first time on YouTube. Every Wednesday night, 10 p.m., me and Ted Check talk about all the fights, upcoming news, weird, wacky news. We have open chat rooms, so make sure you guys check it out right here. So make sure you guys subscribe down below. All right, our main event of the night, Dustin the Diamond getting a taste of his own medicine here against MJ. And I asked everybody before this fight even went down on my Twitter account, took a quick poll, who is going to win this fight? Over 80% of you guys thought without a doubt that Dustin was going to be winning this fight tonight. You know, and he's been showing a great game plans, but he's heavy with those swings. Where you have Johnson, who has the speed and the power. So here, guys, the heavy swings going up against the speed and power, the heavy swings just weren't doing it. You saw Dustin trying to land an uppercut and just missed just a little bit. And MJ just came in around, boom, boom, right on the neck, dropping Dustin out cold, getting a taste of his own medicine. He had his back up against the wall here, Michael Johnson, and really shine tonight. And maybe that's exactly what he needed here. I mean, come on, his last fight against Nate Diaz, that's a tough mother effer to be fighting with. Nate Diaz is a nightmare for anybody out there. So Michael Johnson did a great job in that fight. However, Nate Diaz did get into his head here. Same thing could have happened tonight. Dustin the Diamond could have gotten in his head. Michael Johnson was like, no. I need to win this fight. And if you could tell by the way that he was swinging too tonight, he was swinging like, dude, I'm taking you out, and it's going to go down quick. So the problem here is, should Dustin have backed up, gave him space, and just known ahead of time, having foresight now, maybe I should have just played that first round a little more safe, because you know that damn well Michael Johnson's going to come out swinging. He's a boxer. You really don't want to stay in the pocket. However, a lot of you guys would say that that's the perfect fight for Dustin anyway. That's what Dustin wanted coming into this fight. He wanted somebody to stand in the pocket and box and swing, and this is exactly what was going to happen, whether it was Dustin or MJ. Somebody was going down, most likely in that first round. A lot of you guys are going to say that out there. Dustin gets a taste of his own medicine. I'm interested to see what happens next. After this fight, though, Showtime Pettis and everyone talking about it. Jose Aldo rumored to be fighting Showtime Pettis. However, tonight he tweeted out he is open for a fight against Michael Johnson, which is, of course, at a different weight class, which is his old weight class. I'm talking about Pettis. He literally just moved up to 145, and after that fight, he was even talking about it like, the weight cut was really hard. I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but then he called out Jose Aldo, and the Jose Aldo thing was set up. What fight do you guys want? What fight do you guys like here? Would you like Michael Johnson versus Showtime Pettis, who's the former champion, great athlete, having a little rocky time lately, however, coming off a win recently to Oliveira. So what do you guys want to see? Do you want to see Jose Aldo fight Conor McGregor, or do you want to see Jose Aldo fight Showtime Pettis? For me, I'm sticking with my word here, even though I wouldn't mind seeing the Jose Aldo fight for Showtime if this was a couple years ago. Right now, everything said and done, Jose Aldo has the interim title. He should be fighting Conor McGregor. Conor needs to stop running. Forget about Eddie Alvarez, even though everybody's saying UFC 205, Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez. I'm not going to complain too much because I live so close to New York, but still, Jose Aldo versus Conor McGregor is the fight to make. Therefore, you take Showtime Pettis, Michael Johnson, make that an event, not a main event, a co-main event. I want to hear what you guys have to say about that. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, ProWrestlingAuthority.com. I will be announcing the winners on this week's podcast, so make sure you guys follow that on Apple iTunes. Just search Pure Evil MMA, and we're going to have a great time this week. Big prizes coming. If you guys win 2 in a row, you can get an autograph from Pure Evil MMA. Let's see what happens as the week goes on. Next week, of course, we have Cyborg going up against Landsberg. And I've talked to a couple fighters on that card as well. I got to talk to Paul Felder. You guys all know that. I also got to talk to Philip Nover, who's going to be fighting Henan Barao. This is going to be next week. It's going to be live and free on FS1. I cannot wait. Make sure you guys check out the interview I did with Paul Felder down below. Subscribe down below. Also, Philip Nover I just talked to on Cage Side Submissions, so check that out. It's on Apple iTunes. You do not want to miss out. Next week's fights are going to be crazy. Paul Felder even promised me that he's going to be going in there and he's going to be throwing down with that son of a bee, and to expect a fight that all the pressure is going to be on Trinaldo. And of course, this is a fight in Trinaldo's hometown. And Paul Felder was talking to me about, the importance of having the right people in your corner. How important is that? It's extremely important. He was having a little trouble with that. So I'm interested to see what happens next week. It's going to be live and free on FS1. So make sure you guys tune in for that. I will be discussing all of this on the podcast. So make sure you tune in. You do not want to miss out. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, ProWrestlingAuthority.com. I'm out, guys. Have a great night. Behave yourself.